The Life Talk Show is about testimonies where you can listen to be inspired, encouraged, uplifted, and entertained. It's the life. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashley Cotton, the host for the Life Talk Show. And today with me, I do have Terrance Seegers, as you all know. I always have a guest to come on to speak about their testimony, which this show is based on. Revelation 12:11. We overcame him by the blood of the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimony. And so, thank you for joining us. I just want to update you all on a few things. So we had our women's conference calling his daughters back to him, and it was awesome. It was really, really good. A lot of breakthrough, a lot of things that happened. I had it last Saturday. So that was my first conference of hosting as well as speaking. And so it really, really went well, better than, of course, I can ever anticipate. So that's that. And then let's see. I don't have any other announcements. This is my downtime because I went straight to going back to school event July 31st and then doing everything I needed to do for the women's conference, which was August 14th. So now I'm back to being focused and I'm back to doing what I do best, my element, which is giving God glory and hosting this talk show. And so without further ado, we have Terrance, who was born and raised in Paterson, New Jersey, and graduated high school in Anchorage, Alaska. He attended Rutgers University as well as a variety of business and technical schools. Terrance has been an entrepreneur for 30 years in entertainment, merchandising, and lawn care services. Seegers Promotional Products is a Black-owned promotional products company with the lowest prices in the nation for all things promotional. We provide companies, organizations, schools, and foundations customized items for branding, marketing, advertising, and fundraising efforts. Seegers Promotional Products was born in January of 2011 out of an entrepreneur spirit to be self-employed. So let's welcome Terrance. Hey.
How you doing today, Ashley?
I'm doing good. And I always see you posting on LinkedIn because that's how I originally, met you. It's through LinkedIn. And so you made the connection. You said, hey, you should put me on your show. I have a great story. And I said, okay, go for it. So tell us your story.
Well, first, I like to say I reached out because I like your platform and you always have a very interesting and a very interesting show. So I figured that maybe it'd be a nice outlet for me.
Okay, well, I greatly appreciate it because you did mention that you watched this show. So I'm thankful for anybody who watches this show, as well as subscribe, like, share, comment, because I always highlight the comments because, I do this for an audience of one, which is the Lord, but it's always great when, people want to tune in and actually listen and watch what you have, going on. So Terrance, where does your story begin as far as your testimony?
Well, as you stated in the bio, I'm originally born and raised in Paterson, New Jersey. My mom entered the military after I entered high school, and so she moved us up to Anchorage, Alaska, and where I finished high school. From there, I went back to New Jersey, entered college. From college, I began working in the banking industry. From there, I went to systems development, information systems development. After that, I moved on to working on the stock exchange in New York, doing information systems for one of the exchanges, the Mercantile Exchange, coffee, sugar, and cocoa. After that, I then went back to Alaska, and at that point, I decided that I was more interested in working for myself than working for someone else. So I started opening my own businesses,
And when you
which
say businesses, is that what was listed in your bio?
yeah. My first business was actually a night spot. I started a night spot in Anchorage, Alaska, and from there, I just found that I enjoyed uh, being self-employed and working for myself more so than generating revenue for anybody else or any company. I decided
Mhm.
it was more profitable and to be self-employed.
Okay, and so what made that transition? Like, what were some of the things that you was like, you know what, I can really work my own business and be successful at that?
Well, I came to that conclusion while working for the stock exchange on Wall Street in New York. I had participated in the development and implementation of a information system for the stocks and the inventory uh, for the coffee, sugar, and cocoa exchange. And at that time, based on my input and my contribution to the system, I thought I should be compensated higher. I thought
Mhm.
I should move to the next level, and they didn't think so. They treated me like a commodity, just like the coffee and the sugar. You know what I mean? That
And when you say they, who are they?
they is the mercantile exchange, the New York Stock Exchange.
Mhm.
Um, you know, their their commodity was coffee, sugar, and cocoa. And I assisted in the development of a system to track the inventory and the companies that move those commodities on the exchange. And at that point, I felt my contribution was significant enough for me to elevate within the exchange. And they just treated me like I was another commodity. You know what I mean? They didn't feel like I needed any additional compensation.
Right. So now my question is this, because this is very interesting. Why do you think, with all the gifts and everything that God has placed inside of us to do, right? Because the gift will make room for you and it's supposed to generate wealth for you and your family and your bloodline. So why is it that people, when you have all this skills or whatever on the inside of you that you're doing on a daily basis, and people can see your worth when it's benefiting them, when it's making them money, but when it's time for you to get yours, it's like why can't people see our worth and what we bring to the table, when only it's okay when it's benefiting them, but when it's time for us to be the benefactors, then it's like
Well, money changes things. I think money changes people's perspective, uh, and so as long in the corporate world, with the stockholders and the board holders, uh, everything boils down to money. So the less money that they can expend, the more money that they can that they can give to their stockholders and their board members. And so the main, I think my opinion is that the main objective of a corporation is to pay their stockholders and their board members. So what they do is they try to limit and minimize their expenses. And within corporations, employees are expenses. You know what I mean? So the less expenses that a corporation or a company has, the more profit they generate. And so when you and like I said, within corporations and big businesses and things like that, employees are basically a commodity. You know what I mean? The cheaper the expenses, the higher the profit, the more money generated for the board members and the stockholders. And we're deemed, employees and corporations are really deemed expendable. You know, you can, if one person can do it, there's another person who'll do it if given the opportunity for less.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when I hit that when I experienced that firsthand, I determined that if I was gonna make any money, I was gonna make it on my own and for my own benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided that I would find, you know, with my training and my education, my experience, I determined that I would be better on my own than constantly working to the benefit of people who didn't appreciate my skills, my skill set.
And so now that you transitioned to come into your own, what was that first entrepreneurial, job or whatever that you did for yourself?
Well, that's interesting. You know, I started out with every intention of having a gift shop. You know, I was gonna sell trinkets and statuettes and things like that for as a home goods store. And being in Anchorage, Alaska, uh, the entertainment area and aspect of it is limited. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
only have, it's not a big city. It's not a highly populated city, so your options are very limited. So at the time, to meet that need, I decided to have a little night spot, a little entertainment club for people to enjoy themselves, and it was a success. It was successful. It did very good up there. So once that happened, there was no turning back. You know what I mean? I was gonna, from that point on, I was only interested in working for myself.
Mm-hmm. And so now that you received that success, what was the next thing? Because um like I'm just trying to find like what was like the biggest like momentum or the biggest takeaway from you having your own business, because I'm sure there was a lot of ups and downs. And so how did you stay consistent with saying, you know what, I'm going to stick this out?
Well, um, that at that point in the success with that entity, I decided I was gonna do I was gonna do whatever was necessary to be self-employed, to um to retain my independent status of as an entrepreneur. And so I would find areas where there was a need for for whatever service I decided to do. I mean, I've done more than entertainment. Uh, I've had I had that entertainment uh, business, and then from there I had a lawn care service.
Mm-hmm.
I had a merchandising company. I had a painting business. You know, so I just tried to identify areas of need that we weren't represented in,
Hmm.
and use our lack of representation in those areas as a as a as a as use our lack of representation in those areas as a entry point into
Mm-hmm.
whatever industry I decided to go into. You know, there's I'm not aware of many black-owned merchandising companies, or I know there's some lawn care service companies, but in any industry, we represent a minimal percentage of companies in that area, and that's just based on our population numbers. You know what I mean? We have a
Right.
smaller population, so our representation in any industry or in any business is on the lower end than generally recognized. So
And
I
how,
go
oh,
ahead.
I'm
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I would just try to identify an area where the black representation within that industry is low, and use that as my stepping point into that industry.
Okay, and so with that stepping point, how easy was it for you to maneuver? Did you like receive some pushback, or was everything flowing for you, like the open doors, the connections, like?
Well, being a black owned entity, there's always pushback. You know what I mean? Because people don't think that we can perform and excel in any area based on stereotypes, uh, uh, and maybe bad experiences.
And let me
But
just say this too, Terrance, because I'm not stereotyping or judging or anything, right? But at first sight, when I see you, and when you open up your mouth and you said that, oh, I worked at the stock exchange, it was like, oh, okay, right? Because oftentimes I say that because we don't look the part. We don't
right,
look how we're supposed to look according to someone's
right,
perception, if that makes
right,
sense. And so, you got your hat banged off a little bit,
right,
to the
right,
left, and you got, your swag and everything. But the very fact is that when you actually have a conversation with you and you sit down and talk with you, there's so much more to you than what the eye meets.
right, right, right. I mean, everybody's different,
Right.
and a part of being successful is expressing your individuality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I forget the exact term that they use, but my interpretation of it is dumbing down your existence to fit into the perception of other people or other environments. I feel that being genuine is more beneficial than being a fraud, perpetrating a fraud. You know what I mean? I went through I went through a lot of years of putting on the suit, putting on the tie, and being buttoned down. And I found out when I decided to present myself as I am, uh, I got better responses and for the things that I wanted to do, for the things I pursued. And I think that being is that it it's just a clearer understanding of who you're dealing with. You know, I'm not, back in those days when I was working on Wall Street and in banking and in the corporate environment. I was a youngster. You know what I mean? So I did things that I thought would 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 help me in those environments, in the corporate environment. There's a term that's right now in the mainstream that that I lose. I can't recall that exact term, but yeah, I just found that I present myself better and I express myself better when being I'm being myself.
And why can't we be ourselves in these different environments? Because I know one thing, when I was working in corporate America at Charles Schwab, and my manager, she was a little younger than me, which is fine. That's cool. And she was a white woman. And so I'm a very assertive, which means I'm observant. I pay attention to everything, and I'm very quick with, have a wits about myself where I'm quick on my feet. And she took that as me being aggressive.
Right.
And so
Right.
I said, hold on now, wait a minute now. Let me school you on some things. And I said, no, I'm not being aggressive. I'm being assertive, which
Right.
means that
Right.
you can't sit here and tell me what you want to tell me and think that I'm going to take it. And she's like, well, I think you should know there's a difference between being assertive. And so I said, is it? I said, well, let's look up the definitions.
Right.
Because my thing is that I will not ever be rude or disrespectful, but you're not going to insult my intelligence either. So
Right.
we went
Right. Right.
ahead and we looked up the definitions, and then she read aggressive and I read assertive. And I said, so what's the difference? And I said, have I displayed the aggressive behavior in this manner? Have I did that? And she said, no. I said, okay, so there's a difference with being aggressive and being assertive.
Right. Right.
And I said my piece and it was all good. And I, went back to my seat, but I'm sure she felt some kind of way. And my whole thing is that I will never dumb down myself for anybody. I don't care what environment I'm in. What you see is
Right.
what you get. And I
Right.
think
Right.
for the most part, because the people on my team, right? They're like, oh, you're so outspoken, you're so, and they felt like they could not have a voice. And that's my thing, like, especially with all the things that I've been through in my life where my voice has been constantly trying to take from me, that I
Right.
can't say anything, I can't express myself, that you want to sit up here and shut me down. I'm like, absolutely not. And I don't care who you are. I'm going to say what I need to say in a respectful manner, but I'm going to get my point across. And you can either receive it or you can reject it. It doesn't matter, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I found that no matter how you present yourself or no matter how you express yourself as a black person, it's always taken as aggressive or outspoken or not uncooperative. You know what I mean? And that's not the case. You know what I mean? They just it's just that growing up, more so than likely, we had to scrap and scrape and fight for the things that we wanted and for ourselves. And so in our expressions and in our communication, it always seems to be misinterpreted, you know. And
So
I
is
mean,
that on
I don't
us?
look at it. I
So
don't look at it. I don't look at it as a fault of ours. I look at it as a fault
exactly.
of
I
the
don't
other demographic.
exactly. I don't look at it as a fault of ours because that's not my issue. Your
Right.
issue is how you interpret it, and
Right.
because you yourself been brainwashed, or you
Right.
haven't got your mind renewed on some things,
Right.
that you want to project that on me, and that don't have nothing to do with me. That has something to do with you, that you need to look within yourself and rectify.
Right. Right. I find that other demographics are really conditioned on how to act and how to respond, and we're not conditioned. You know what I mean? We're taught and we're raised to go after and to pursue what we want. Sometimes it's by any means necessary, but I think that other demographics are conditioned on how to act and how to present themselves in certain ways to succeed and to excel, and we suffer the backlash from that.
Yeah. So, Terrance, now exactly where are you? Like, as far as your businesses are concerned, as far as your, walk with the Lord, if there is, and, so on and so forth.
Well, I'm a firm believer in the Lord, and I practice I, I I I practice my belief in the Lord. You know what I mean? I believe in him, and I think he there's a purpose served in following the Lord. But right now in my business, my company is a full scale promotional products company. Uh, on our website, we offer 780,000 different items and products to customize, to brand for any company on any level to market and advertise their entity. And right now, as far as statistics go, there's literally 30,000 different promotional products companies in the U.S. And we represent, of those 30,000 companies, we represent less than 1%. So we're not reaping any rewards or gaining any revenue from this industry, but we spend an enormous amount of money for branding, marketing, and advertising. We get t-shirts done, we get mugs done, we get hats done, we get journals and keychains. We purchase those items and we get them customized, but we don't reap any benefits from it. We're just consumers. So when I got introduced to the promotional products industry, I recognized that, and I wanted to change the entire spectrum or perspective of the promotional products industry. Um, we're different. Seegers Promotional Products is on the same level and operates on the same scale as a Vistaprint or a Custom Ink or a Ford Imprint. You know what I mean? We all utilize the same suppliers and manufacturers and producers of customized items. You know what I mean? And the difference between Seegers Promotional Products and those other companies is that we offer the lowest price to obtain the same quality and the same items as those other companies. We produce T-shirts for lower. We produce water bottles for lower. We produce tumblers for lower. Anything that you can get from a Vistaprint or Custom Ink, we can provide at a lower price, at the same or better quality. And so in this industry, there's probably, out of the 30,000 promotional products companies in the country, there's probably only maybe 5. I know there's less than 10 Black owned, fully functional, full service, full scale promotional products companies in the country. So we're spending a lot of money to get these things made and produced, but we're not receiving any rewards outside of the products that we receive. So I decided that, as I go about identifying areas where we're low in representation, my final my selection at this time was promotional products. And I'm not a newbie to this industry. I mean, I've had Seegers Promotional Products for 10 years. And in those 10 years, I gained experience, I gained knowledge, and I made connections, and I just launched full time during at the onset of the pandemic. Because I had other businesses that I was operating. I had a merchandising company and I had a lawn care service company that I was operating, but they were more socially engaged businesses. There was a lot of people interaction, and at the onset of the pandemic, I didn't want to expose myself to the virus, so I needed a change. And as an entrepreneur, and during the pandemic, I wasn't interested in working for anybody. So I had this company, this promotional products company, and because of the pandemic, everything pivoted to the internet, to e-commerce. And so this company fitted that mold. It was a 100% internet based company where I didn't have to go out. Let me start. When I first got exposure to this industry, uh, it was a lot of cold calling, a lot of knocking on doors, a lot of walking into to companies and offices to acquire and generate sales. But at the onset of the pandemic, when everything pivoted to e-com and internet based, this company was perfect for that approach, for that mode.
Mhm.
And so, I crunched my numbers, I developed my system, and I launched it full time in February of 2020. So we haven't been on the scene long, about 18 months now, but I've been in the industry for 10 years.
Mhm. And so, the fact that you had to pivot and really, move your business along, why did you not give up? Why did you not stop? I know one of the things is that you just can't work for anybody, right?
Right,
But, you found a way to reinvent yourself.
right.
So, what do you say to those that are trying to find their niche in, what they're trying to do? Like they started off one way, but now they're trying to figure out what to do next.
Well, I say, you sometimes you have to become uncomfortable to find what it is that you're best suited for. I didn't just happen upon this industry. You know, I looked into other areas, I looked into other opportunities, and I just kept looking. I just kept looking. No matter, even if I was involved in one area and doing one thing, I kept my eyes open. I kept looking for things that would would suit my needs. And all of my businesses have been successful businesses, but no matter where you are, you can always do better. You know,
Hmm.
so I just kept seeking and kept researching different areas and different opportunities until I landed on promotional products. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Promotional products didn't find me. I found promotional products. So you just have to keep up your pursuit and keep looking into other areas, and you'll find your niche if you keep pursuing. Once you stop and become stagnant, then that's where you're stuck at.
And have you received your breakthrough with the new promotional business?
Yeah, it's been very successful. It's been very gratifying. You know, the the one area that I need to do better at is exposure. I mean, I provide items for marketing, advertising, and promoting, but it's not what I do best. You know what I mean? I don't market, I don't advertise, I don't promote. I, I I'm an operational person. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So the area where I need to improve and expand upon is my own marketing, to gain the exposure, to be recognized by people as the premier company to provide this service.
What are your outlets? Like as far as you promoting your business.
Well, my business is primarily promoted on social media.
But
I
which
use
social medias do you use?
I use Instagram, I use Facebook, and I use LinkedIn. You know, that's my marketing approach. That is what's gaining me exposure at this time. But eventually, for me to grow and expand, I'm gonna have to go into paid marketing and paid advertising. And right now, I'm trying to identify uh, the best approach to utilizing that dynamic.
Have you thought about running a commercial?
Yeah, yeah, that falls into the category of paid. you know,
Right. But
uh,
what I'm saying is that if you can find someone who's a videographer, right? Really
right,
good,
right,
reasonable. I don't know what your budget is, but I'm just giving you this because I hear this. If you find a videographer who is reasonable but quality, right? You don't want
right,
it to look like no public access.
right, 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 right,
But and then come up with a treatment as far as your commercial. So your commercial spot would be what, 15 to 30 seconds, real quick, right?
right,
So if you can put into a commercial of what you do, why you do, how you do all of those things, right?
right,
Then you can run that on Facebook like as an ad, or run that on your social media as like a commercial, like as a, to just get more exposure, and then have people to share it, like your friends and family, right? And
right,
just have them to share it on their social media and allow it to just grow and do whatever it's going to do, because really that will be your next step. That would be your next level of creating a commercial that you can run.
right.
And it doesn't have to be expensive. It could be $150. I mean, as long as the quality is there and they're able to edit it correctly, and you have a vision of it as far as what you want to put in that commercial to gain attraction.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking into those areas. I'm looking at some companies and some people who perform those services. I just haven't identified uh, any company or any individual who I think could best convey my message.
Well, I have a connect.
Okay,
If you
okay,
want the connect, he is my videographer, and that's who I do a lot of stuff with. His name is Melvin.
okay.
Um, yeah, so after we get off the show, I'll connect you with him, and you can contact him, and he, will help you and all of that stuff. And
Yeah,
he's reasonable.
it's all about making the right connections. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. The people who the areas and the companies and people who I'm looking at, I have no connection or no or no no foothold or knowledge of these people. You know what I mean? So it's not like they're gonna give me the best rate or you know what I mean. Try not or not take advantage of me. So the the best the
Well, this,
best way to go about it is to be connected and
yeah.
introduced to somebody else.
Absolutely. And he's not like that. He's really reasonable, but he's good. And, he has the equipment and everything to carry out what you need. So we're going to go into our fire rapid questions. And
Okay.
so the first one is, what is your favorite verse in the Bible?
My favorite verse is the smallest verse, is the shortest verse. Jesus cried. You know,
Jesus wept.
Jesus wept. Well, wept, cried. But that's that's my favorite one.
And you
You
know
know.
what, Terrance? Earlier I heard, when I say I heard, I'm talking about the spirit, that it was like, ask him about his walk, ask him about his relationship. And the reason being is because everyone is on different levels. I
Right.
want people to take away from this is that you don't have to be a biblical scholar. There are those who are
Right.
theologians and
Right.
everything. And then there's those who believe that Jesus is Lord, and they leave it at that, right? They get baptized and they say, Jesus is Lord, I believe in him. And then that's that. But
Right.
there's different levels and ranges to this relationship with him, right? And
Right.
so when you said, you touched on it briefly about, Lord, yeah, I follow the ways of the Lord. And I was like, okay, so what does that look like? But I didn't want to say anything. But now
Okay.
that we've gotten to this point, and it came up again, that Jesus wept. And it was like, okay.
Right.
And I don't want people to feel like, oh, I have to be this in order, because the show is open. Excuse me, the show is open to whomever. I want people to feel comfortable. I don't want people coming in and putting up a front and doing whatever. So if your walk with the Lord is, I don't want to say surfacey. I don't want to say that word, but like I said, there's different spectrums to, your walk. So if you
Right.
don't mind me asking, where are you with your walk with the Lord?
Well, I mean, I'm baptized, and I have exposure to the church, but I don't I don't I practice religion, but it's not my focal point. You know what I mean? It's not my jump off. I don't base everything in every circumstance in my life on maybe religious principles. You know what I mean? I have a lot of exposure to the church. My mom is a church member, a board member of a church. My a lot of people in my family are church driven. But at this time, I'm not a member of a church. You know what I mean? But I'm open to it. If I could find a church that I was comfortable in, I would attend church.
Okay,
But
so this is what I hear the Lord saying. And this
okay,
only happens when he wants to convey something to you.
all
I'm
right,
just the vessel, I'm just a servant, so I'm going to be obedient because he's not going
right,
to be like, I told you to say this and you didn't. So, but I
right.
hear him saying, return to him.
Well, I've never left. I've never
Yeah,
abandoned or left him.
yeah.
You know,
But from what I'm hearing, I'm just going by from what I'm hearing,
all
is
right,
that he's saying to return to him. And I don't know what that means because that's just the phrase that I'm hearing.
okay,
And and you said, you practice religious, I mean, you don't practice the religion, and really it's not a religion, it's just a relationship, it's just a way of how to live for him. And
right,
so you have to seek him more on that.
okay,
But I don't know if it's a heart issue. I don't know. I'm not going into that deep unless he gives me more revelation on it. But I
right.
just hear return to him. And that could be returning to the word. That could be returning to worship. That can be returning to, but return to him is what I hear.
Yeah,
So,
what I try to do, in everything that I do, I I I, I practice the thought of WWJD. I do implement that in my approach to things. So if I feel like I'm 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 undecided, or I'm in a situation where I could go left or I could go right, I do a what would Jesus do? I mean, train of thought, and I follow that I follow it in that way. So and me knowing that more than likely Jesus would do the right thing, I'm more so inclined to do the right thing.
mhm.
You know. But I mean, at during this pandemic, um, I don't think that I would be. I don't think that I would be like gung ho about actually going and attending church at this time. But after the pandemic, it might be something that I should look into doing.
Yeah, and you don't want to forsake the assembly of the gathering of the saints in the sanctuary, but the return that I'm speaking of is not so much the building the church. It's just
Okay.
it's the intimacy between you and him that he seeks after. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. It's
Makes good
it's
sense.
it's the intimacy because it's not so much the acts of religion or going through the motions of it, like going to church and then going home, no, it's the intimacy of the relationship where you're inclined to his voice, where you can hear it. Because when you get in those situations where it's what would Jesus do? You won't have to do that because he's already with you, and that time that you spent with him, you will already know what to do instead of being in the moment and saying, oh, which way do I go? Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, because I'm getting more. So, right. So, return to Him, get in an intimate place with Him where you can spend some time with Him. It doesn't have to be long and drawn out. 3 minutes here, 5 minutes here, or whatever, or in a quiet space where you don't have your business or anything like that. But really, mainly, it's about you and what He wants to do for you and with you.
Yeah, in that respect, I think I do that. I think I do have that type of relationship. I do exercise that approach. You know what I mean? Because constant, it goes through my mind constantly about the Lord and about Jesus. You know what I mean? I constantly think in those terms, in that respect. You know, but as far as practicing and assembling and things like that, that's not something I do. But I do believe I have a relationship with the Lord.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's go to number 2. How do you get into the presence of the Lord?
Well, I'm always in the presence of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
You can't escape the presence of the Lord. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The Lord is omnipotent. So
Yes.
I'm always in the presence of the Lord in anything I do.
Yes. Number 3, what do you think heaven will be like?
Well, I think it'll be a lot different than hell. You know,
Hope so.
I'm yeah. I think heaven is the promised land. You
Yes.
know, I think it's gonna be all good in heaven.
Number 4, who would you
I
like?
think I'm going. I believe I'm going to heaven too, though. So
Yeah. Number
yeah,
4, who would you like to meet in heaven? It could be from the Old Testament or New Testament.
the person I would like to meet in heaven, I want to meet God. You know what I mean? I want to sit down and have a chat with the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
with God. I want to get some better understanding of His purpose of creating. You know what I mean? The world and people, and I want to hear it from Him. You know what I mean? Because everybody interprets His message and His word in different ways. You know what I mean? You
Mm-hmm.
don't get it the same from everybody. You know what I mean? I'm kind of I'm kind of I can't find a word, but I'm kind of I need some more understanding of this prosperity preaching that's taking hold now. You know what I mean? Because from as far back as I can remember, that wasn't never an approach. You know what I mean? So this prosperity preaching has me confused and confounded. So I want to sit back and get some understanding as when he relayed that message.
Well, the thing is that it's nothing wrong with prosperity, but that has been the focal point of the church. And I don't know if you saw, but maybe a year ago or something, Benny Hinn repented, and so did Joyce Myers repented for preaching the gospel, the prosperity gospel, and not the actual word. And so
Uh,
there's nothing wrong with prosperity, but when you make that the focal point and you're trying to promise these people houses and cars, and that's not what God said, that's not thus saith the Lord, then they're
right.
going to have to answer to that. And so that's what goes back to the intimacy of you reading your word and allowing the Father, the Holy Spirit to, you know,
Yeah,
um,
I just want to
yeah,
ask him. You know, what I mean, when did he pass down that message? That's
yeah.
all.
So, number 5, given the opportunity that, God manifests himself to you face to face in a quiet, intimate setting, what would that conversation be like?
Well, I mean, I think I have that conversation with the Lord at least once a day, minimum. you know. So it'll be me being inquisitive about, the ways of the world, you know.
Mhm.
Why some people interpret his word one way and act that way, and why some people interpret his word differently and act differently, um but as far as intimate conversation with him, I think I do that daily.
Mhm. Awesome. So, I'm going to give you the number to Melvin after this. And
Okay.
so, for those who are watching, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate you. Actually, this Saturday, I will have a new guest to speak about her testimony. I'm excited to hear about it. And so, where can they find you? Like, if they need promotional advertisement, this is your chance to share, your information.
Well, I mean, the the most prevalent spot that I'm on is LinkedIn. You know what I mean? But they can find me on LinkedIn, uh, Seegers Promotional Products. They can find me on Facebook, Seegers Promotional Products. Find me on Instagram, Seegers Promotional. My website is www.seegerspromotions.com. My telephone number is 214-402-2938. Email terranceseegers@gmail.com. I'm out there. You can, if you need something and in your budget, you got budget constraints, I can be found. You can find me.
All right, so that concludes our show. So I thank you so much for watching. God bless you all. Take care. I will see you Saturday.